Guys, this is unbelievable. People are still loading up on survival gear that doesn't even work when it actually matters. And I'm not exaggerating, some of these products are so bad, they could leave you stranded, or worse. Let's break down the 8 items preppers seriously need to stop buying before it's too late. It's easy to get pulled in by slick marketing, cool packaging, or something that looks tactical enough to belong in a movie. But when it comes to real-world emergencies, storms, outages, supply breakdowns, only the gear that delivers counts. I've gone deep into what fails when conditions get rough, and these 8 items didn't just disappoint, they flat out failed. Let's talk about what to leave out before it costs you more than money. And if you're tired of the hype, tired of wasting cash on stuff that breaks when you actually need it, then this is your channel. Hit that subscribe button right now, because here, we expose the junk, highlight what really works, and prep like survival actually matters. No gimmicks, no fluff, just real gear, real strategy. So subscribe and get 2 steps ahead before everyone else figures it out the hard way. Number 1. Basic cotton gloves. Let's start with something almost every prepper and honestly, every homeowner has lying around. Those basic cotton gloves. You know the ones I'm talking about. Lightweight, off-white, maybe with a dotted grip on the palm, and usually tossed into a drawer after yard work. They're cheap, available everywhere, and feel like a sensible addition to any emergency kit. But here's the brutal truth. In a real survival scenario, these gloves are more dangerous than helpful. At first glance, they seem practical. Need to move wood, clear debris, or handle gear? Gloves, right? But these cotton gloves were never designed for real fieldwork. They're made for light gardening, not for hauling metal, dealing with sharp edges, or protecting your hands from heat, cold, or chemical exposure. And when your hands are your most critical tools in a crisis, using bad gear puts you directly at risk. I've seen this firsthand in hurricane cleanup zones and in wildfire recovery efforts. People show up with these kinds of gloves thinking they're prepared. Within hours, fingers are blistered, palms are cut, and the gloves are soaked with sweat, rain, or worse, completely useless. Cotton absorbs moisture like a sponge. That means once it's wet, it loses insulation, grip, and becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. You're not just risking discomfort, you're risking infection, burns, and permanent injury. Here's the part most people don't consider. In an emergency, there are no do-overs. If your hands get injured, you can't tie rope, build shelter. Number 2. Plastic shoe racks or storage boxes. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked storage mistakes that even experienced planners make, using those lightweight plastic racks or transparent bins for organizing emergency equipment. They look tidy, stack well, and feel like they're doing the job. But when push comes to shove, these things fold faster than cardboard in the rain. These organizers are designed for climate-controlled closets, not unpredictable environments. The plastic gets brittle in cold, warps in heat, and shatters on impact. One bump, one fall, or one sudden weight shift, and that organized prep system becomes a chaotic pile of cracked containers and spilled supplies. And let's be real, during high-pressure situations, you're not gently placing gear on shelves. You're yanking, loading, reacting fast. The last thing you need is a flimsy tub disintegrating when you grab something critical. Add moisture, rodents, or just time, and suddenly your emergency stockpile has moldy food packets, torn packaging, or nesting insects. These bins also offer zero real protection. There's no lock, no seal, no defense against water, dust, or even basic wear and tear. Prepping isn't about neatness, it's about durability. And these containers simply aren't built to survive the very situations you're preparing for. So, what should you use? Heavy-duty trunks made of reinforced polymer or metal designed to take a beating. Look for options with rubber seals, class blocks, and stack-safe bases. These containers are used by military units, field medics, and wildland fire crews, not just because they look tactical, but because they perform under stress. Another overlooked benefit? Rodent resistance. One steel bin can save your entire food reserve. Number 3. Standard bed sheets. When people think of emergency shelter or staying warm during a blackout, they often grab what's closest, a few spare bed sheets. They're soft, familiar, and always within reach. Fold them into a bag, toss them over your shoulders, or layer them when temperatures dip. It feels like a smart move until it's not. Here's the issue. Standard bed sheets, especially cotton blends, aren't made to retain body heat. They're breathable, yes, but that's the opposite of what you want when the temperature drops or the wind picks up. In cold conditions, they allow warmth to escape almost instantly. In wet scenarios, they become heavy and clingy, pulling heat away from your skin. That's a recipe for rapid chilling, and in some cases, hypothermia. Now imagine trying to use a flat sheet as a barrier during rain, on dirty ground, or inside a damaged shelter. No waterproofing. No insulation, no protection. It doesn't hold up to friction, tears easily, and once soaked, it stays wet for hours. Preppers who rely on household linen for survival coverage are placing comfort over function, and that gamble rarely pays off. Here's where it gets worse. Many folks use bed sheets to wrap emergency food, tools, or medical gear, but the fibers trap moisture, attract pests, and provide zero shock absorption. In a real bug-out scenario, sheets do nothing to protect your gear or your health. So, what's the better choice? Switch to thermal emergency blankets, bivy sacks, or sleeping bag liners made of heat-reflective material. Even basic Mylar wraps outperform regular linen in every measurable way: weight, warmth, durability, and space saving. Want comfort? Layer a wool or fleece throw on top those retain heat. Number 4. Single-stitch sewing kits. They're tiny, light, and often come free with travel bags or hotel rooms. Those little single-stitch sewing kits with 2 needles, a plastic button, and a rainbow of fragile thread. Most folks toss one into their emergency stash thinking, well, it's better than nothing. But when clothing tears, straps snap, or gear rips mid-crisis, this kind of kit is worse than useless. It's false confidence. Here's the problem. These kits are made for cosmetic repairs. A loose button, a minor hem, maybe a popped pocket seam. But try stitching a torn backpack strap, patching a canvas tarp, or reinforcing load-bearing fabric, and that fragile thread will snap before the second pass. The plastic needle holder might look compact, but it shatters under pressure. And worst of all, most of the threads are so weak they fray in your hand. Survival isn't a controlled environment. Your repairs need to hold under stress. Whether you're hiking through dense brush, bracing against wind, or carrying heavy loads, your clothing and bags need to stay functional. And a hotel-style kit won't get you there. So what should replace it? Invest in a real field sewing setup. A proper needle set should include curved options for awkward angles, upholstery-grade strength, and a leather punch if possible. Add waxed thread, paracord-based stitching line, and a small patch kit with canvas, nylon, or denim scraps. You don't need a tailor's bench, just tools that won't crumble when you need them most. Here's a bonus tip. Thread a few heavy-duty needles and store them in a film canister or waterproof match tube. In an emergency, you won't want to waste time fiddling in low light. Bottom line? That emergency sewing kit might look smart, but when everything depends on holding it together. Number 5. Generic gas lighters. They're in your kitchen, your car, maybe even your pocket right now. Small, cheap, and available at every corner shop, generic gas lighters seem like an obvious addition to any survival stash. After all, fire means warmth, cooking, sterilization, and signaling. But the truth? These everyday lighters are one of the most overestimated and unreliable tools you can carry when things get serious. Let's start with durability. Generic lighters are mass-produced with the bare minimum quality. Drop one on a hard surface, and there's a good chance it cracks, or the flint mechanism jams. Get it slightly wet? Forget it. The ignition system becomes slippery, the flame struggles, and in windy or damp conditions, it's as good as dead. Now think about fuel. These lighters aren't refillable, and their fuel seals degrade over time. Store them in your bag for a few months, and you might be left with a useless plastic shell when you finally need it. And because they rely entirely on butane, cold temperatures kill their performance. In winter, they won't spark. In high-altitude conditions, they barely work at all. People also tend to stockpile them, like candy, thinking quantity makes up for quality. But when you're relying on something to start a fire in a survival situation, you don't want to gamble on luck or repetition. You want something that works the first time, every time. So what should you carry instead? Step up to a windproof, refillable survival lighter, something with a metal casing, adjustable flame, and weather resistance. But don't stop there. Always back it up with waterproof matches, a ferro rod, or even a magnifying lens for sun ignition. Fire starting should never be single-source dependent. Redundancy isn't just smart, it's essential. Also, consider waterproof storage. Even the best gear fails when soaked. Store your ignition tools in a sealed pouch, metal tin, or pill bottle with desiccants to keep everything dry and ready. Don't make the mistake of treating fire starting like an afterthought. A generic gas lighter might light a candle, but when your survival depends on it, that little plastic clicker won't cut it. Number 6. Plastic water jugs. Most people prepping for any kind of emergency agree on one thing: water is non-negotiable. So naturally, when it comes to storing water, they reach for the most accessible solution: those large plastic jugs with wide mouths and screw-on caps. You see them in garages, basements, under kitchen sinks lined up, looking ready. But let's break the illusion. These containers aren't just flawed, they can completely compromise your entire hydration strategy. First off, material quality. These open-mouth jugs are usually made from low-density plastic that weakens over time. Exposure to heat, light, or pressure causes micro-cracks. What looks like a sturdy water container might start leaking when you move it, or, worse, crack wide open when you need it most. Then there's hygiene. The wide opening feels convenient for filling, but it also allows more air exposure. That increases the chance of bacterial growth, especially if the water isn't rotated regularly. Add in dust, mold spores, or insects in a humid storage space, and you're drinking from a biohazard. The bigger problem? Most people don't sanitize these containers properly before refilling them. And in a true crisis, waterborne illness can be more deadly than dehydration itself. Portability is another blind spot. These jugs are heavy when full and awkward to carry. The handles are often thin and cut into your hands. In an evacuation scenario where you have to move on foot, these things are dead weight. And finally, sealing. Screw caps on cheap plastic can loosen over time. One minor tilt in a vehicle or a shift in your bug-out bag, and half your clean water could be soaking your gear. So, what's the better move? Look into collapsible water containers made from BPA-free, food-grade plastic with locking spouts and integrated handles. These are compact, easy to store, and designed for durability. Or go for rigid containers made of high-density polyethylene with gasket-sealed lids and stackable frames. They're used in field hospitals and rescue teams for a reason they hold up. Also, consider modularity. Smaller 5-liter containers are easier to carry and distribute than one giant 20-liter jug. Spread the risk, don't keep all your water in one fragile bucket. Water isn't something you want to gamble on. And storing it in the cheapest container you can find? That's not prepping, that's wishful thinking. Number 7. Velcro wallets or travel pouches. They're light, compact, and often sold as tactical or EDC friendly. Velcro strap wallets and travel pouches are the go-to for people who want to carry IDs, cards, and cash with minimal bulk. You'll find them in bug-out bags, glove compartments, and everyday carry kits across the world. But when conditions get real, these flashy organizers start falling apart literally and functionally. Let's start with the build. Most Velcro wallets are made from thin nylon or polyester with stitched flaps and soft backing. They're great for keeping things sorted in your pocket on a normal day, but survival isn't normal. In wet environments, that soft material absorbs moisture. Once saturated, it takes hours to dry, during which time your money, documents, or backup power cards are sitting in a wet pouch, possibly getting ruined. Then comes the problem with Velcro itself. It wears down quickly with exposure to dirt, dust, and friction. After a few weeks of field use, it either refuses to grip or peels open at the slightest pull. That means your essentials, licenses, Idaho SIM cards, emergency currency, could easily fall out at the worst possible moment. It's not a matter of if, but when. And let's talk noise. Velcro closures are loud. Rip one open in the middle of the night while you're on the move or hiding, and you've just given away your position. That might sound dramatic, but in hostile environments or civil unrest scenarios, even the smallest sound matters. Storage limitations are another issue. These wallets and pouches look sleek, but they don't offer waterproof sealing, RFID protection, or impact resistance. Drop one in the mud, and your valuables are toast. Try to pack in any medical documents or survival maps. They bend, smudge, or tear. So, what's the better alternative? Go for a waterproof, zip-sealed pouch with internal dividers and a clear ID window. Something you can toss into a backpack without worrying about rain, pressure, or access. Bonus points for fire-resistant material and RFID blocking layers to prevent digital theft. Survival-grade gear shouldn't look cool, it should work. The truth is, these flashy pouches may feel organized, but when you're truly tested, flimsy wallets won't protect what matters most. Number 8. Decorative scented candles. They look beautiful on the shelf, frosted jars, soft glow, calming scents like lavender or vanilla. Most homes have at least a few. And in prepping mode, people often toss them into their emergency box thinking, at least I'll have some light and comfort. But here's the truth. Decorative candles are more style than substance. Let's start with burn time. These candles are designed for mood, not longevity. A standard scented jar candle might last a few hours at best. In blackout conditions where every minute of visibility counts, that's a bad trade. Compare that with emergency-specific candles that burn clean for 100 plus hours. There's simply no contest. Then there's the container issue. Many of these scented candles come in glass or thin ceramic. That's fine on a dining table, but knock it over during a storm, earthquake, or in a cluttered shelter, and you're looking at broken glass and a potential fire hazard. The wax itself isn't designed for utility. Decorative candles often use soft soy or paraffin blends with chemical fragrances. When burned for long periods in small or unventilated spaces, they can cause headaches or even respiratory irritation, especially dangerous for kids, elderly, or people with asthma. Let's not forget light output. These candles produce ambient glow, not usable illumination. You won't be reading, cooking, or navigating safely with one of these flickering on the floor. So what's the smarter option? Stock up on long-burn emergency candles made with beeswax or refined paraffin, stored in tin containers with wide, stable bases. They're smokeless, efficient, and made for crisis, not ambiance. In prepping, purpose always beats aesthetics. When the lights go out, you don't need your room smelling like citrus breeze. You need gear that keeps the dark from swallowing you whole. Number 10, cheap walkie-talkies. Communication during a crisis is everything. Power's out, phones are dead, networks jammed, and that's when most people reach for the budget walkie-talkies they picked up at a department store or online bundle. They look tactical, promise 16 channels, and brag about 5-kilometer range. But in real-world prepping, these basic FRS, family radio service, walkies fall apart fast, and relying on them can put you in serious danger. First off, let's talk range. The packaging might say 3 miles, 5 miles, even 10, but those numbers are fantasy. In urban areas, you're lucky to get half a mile, inside buildings or wooded terrain, maybe a few hundred feet. That's not communication, that's shouting distance. Then there's the battery trap. Most cheap models rely on AAA or AAA cells and eat through them like candy. Without backup power or recharging options, they go silent just when you need them most. Worse, many don't even allow external battery packs or solar recharging. One full day of use, and you're back in the dark. Now let's look at clarity. In an emergency, miscommunication is dangerous. But these entry-level units often crackle, lag, or clip your voice. Weather interference, poor antennas, and lack of squelch control mean you could be relaying critical instructions, and the other person hears static. Add to that the fact that these radios usually operate on public, unsecured channels. Anyone nearby with the same unit can hear you, talk over you, or interfere deliberately. In a crisis with panic or civil unrest, that's not just annoying, it's risky. So what should you actually invest in? If communication matters, and it always does, upgrade to GMRS radios with higher wattage, longer battery life, and repeaters compatibility. Get licensed if needed, it's worth it. Or go ham if you're serious about range, resilience, and reliability. Bonus: many quality radios today support USB-C charging, battery packs, and even solar adapters. And always test your gear before the crisis hits. Pre-program channels, set privacy codes, and train family or team members. A good radio with a bad operator is still a liability. Bottom line? Walkie-talkies that sound cool in the box aren't always cool when it counts. When the grid's down and every second matters, cheap radios become dead weight. Let's be brutally honest, prepping isn't about how much gear you've stacked, it's about how much of it will actually work when everything breaks down. And that's the trap most people fall into. They collect tools, gadgets, and survival items that feel right but fail when reality hits. If even one of the items we talked about today is sitting quietly in your stash right now, it's time to rethink what you're really preparing for. Because when the power goes out, when help doesn't show up, when things truly go sideways, wishful thinking becomes your biggest enemy. And listen, we're not here to scare you. We're here to make sure you don't become another "I thought I was ready" story on the news. That's what this channel is all about, real advice for real people living in an increasingly unpredictable world. So if you want prepping tips that actually work and no sugar-coated fluff, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell. Because next week, we're exposing the biggest lie in emergency food storage no one's talking about. Be smart, stay sharp, and don't prep blind.